Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Round one of the NBA draft in the books. Round two coming up at 2 o'clock today. The Jazz draft a couple of guys out of the Pac-12. Cody Williams from Colorado with the 10th pick and Isaiah Collier from USC with the 29th pick. Collier, a little bit of a flyer here. I mean, he was a highly thought of recruit, depending on which recruiting service you believe, but top five guy. I mean, he was very well thought of. Had a big debut, then had an injury. His team wasn't good. It didn't quite pan out, and other guys zoomed by him, and he plummets down to the 29th spot. But as David Locke likes to say, college basketball isn't always a great indicator of what you're going to do as a pro. It's a different game. Can it change? And obviously all these guys are young, so how much can they just improve and grow? Here's Isaiah Collier at his press conference after the Jazz drafted him.
Isaiah, I'm Andy Larson from the Salt Lake Tribune. Just first of all, congratulations. Second of all, were you surprised to be still around at number 29? And what was your first reaction when you learned that you were drafted by the Jazz?
I mean, of course, I was surprised a little bit just being, around that 29. But, I mean, for me, I still feel like, I'm one of the best players in this draft. But for me, it's just grateful for the opportunity, that Utah drafted me. I'm just looking forward to just getting to work and, bringing that winning mentality. And I'm just looking forward to, just competing every day.
Hey, Isaiah, I'm Ryan Miller from KSL.com. I know you didn't come in here for a workout, but did you have much contact with the Jazz leading up to this?
Yeah, I mean, I got to talk to them in Chicago at the Combine, and my agent, communicating back and forth. So, yep.
Isaiah, Tony Jones from The Athletic. What are some of the things that you feel like you want to kind of shore up and refine with your game between now and Summer League and between Summer League, and training camp?
I mean, I just want to sum up that, I'm one of the best players in the draft. For me, it's just, competing from day one, pushing my teammates and just making everybody, better around me and just being that good person on and off the court.
Isaiah, John Kuhn from the Associated Press. When you look at what the Jazz have on their roster and the style of play that they played last year, how do you feel like your skill set fits into what this organization's doing?
I mean, I feel like, I'm ready, for the situation, whatever's thrown at me. And, just got to spend time with Keontae a little bit this summer. I mean, that was great for sure, just being around him, seeing him get better every single day, and just seeing the young core, that, Utah has. So I'm just looking forward to, gelling with the guys and getting better.
You mentioned working out with Keontae. What is your relationship like with him?
I knew him a little bit before, it's like high school days. So, I mean, real cool with Keontae. Got to spend a lot of time with him this summer, him being out in LA training. But, I mean, great dude. He's going to be, a really good player in this league. And I'm just looking forward to, just learning from everybody.
Isaiah, do you know anything about Salt Lake City or Utah, or have you been here before?
No, I never been to Utah, but I mean, I'm looking forward to it for sure. I mean, I know it's kind of cold out there. I'm going to have to, get a coat or whatever, but I mean, it's cool.
There's a new Jazz man, Isaiah Collier, the 29th pick in the draft. Cody Williams, the 10th pick in the draft, coming up later this hour, along with Justin Zanik, Jazz general manager. We're going to take a break, though. When we come back, Utah Hockey Club GM Bill Armstrong on the draft and the summer, and where does the club go from here? That is next. Good morning, DJ and PK, proudly presented by Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer for 18 years in a row. Utah head coach, Utah Hockey Club general manager, Bill Armstrong, holding a press conference earlier this week as they prepare for the draft. There'll be another big draft party tomorrow night at the Delta Center, and we'll find out what they do with the 6th pick in the draft. Here's Bill Armstrong, general manager of the Utah Hockey Club, with the media.
Hey, Bill, thanks for taking the time to do this for us today. After you've had the chance to, really dive into this draft class, what would you say is the strength of this class, and how do you feel the team is positioned with your 13 picks, especially number 6 overall?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think there's been a lot of changes at the end of the season. Guys coming on strong, and a really good mix up top. I think it's probably an interesting draft in the sense that, there's a lot of different, there's basically, anywhere from 10 to 12 guys that have the chance to go after, the number one pick comes off the board. So it's wide open. I think there's going to be some surprises that happen, and that due to some of the players just playing so well at the end of the year. And it's exciting times when you get down to it. How we're positioned, I mean, we got a lot of picks. This is, if you're a scout, this is where you want to be. You're picking high and often. So it's a really good position to be in. This is the way that we designed it and built it. We're an organization that will have a chance to win a championship, but only through the draft. I mean, that's a big part of what we're doing. The high end players, your number one centers, your number one D-men, your number one goaltenders are very rarely kind of traded for. And in some sentences, they're usually built through the draft, and that's what we've tried to do.
Let's go to Andy Larson with the Salt Lake Tribune.
Hey, Bill, wanted to ask about the
recording in progress
of Chris Armstrong to your guys' team, and in particular, kind of what he brings to the organization and how your guys' roles interact and differ.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a great ad. He's been there from the get-go and someone I've talked to throughout the process. And just someone that has a tremendous amount of knowledge, that's been an agent. He's been in the field. He has a general understanding of everything, how it works behind the scenes, and it's just been great to work with him. I've really enjoyed my time. A small piece of time. It seems like it's been about 2 years, but it's actually only been about 2 months. So it's been a whirlwind, but it's been a great fit. And he brings some expertise from the agency field. And he's got some great thoughts about how to improve the organization. And it's been a pleasure to work with him.
Let's go to Ryan Miller with KSL Sports.
Hey, Bill, I'm just more curious, how are things different leading up into this draft with being in Utah than it has been in previous times, in Arizona?
It's a great question. It's relatively the same on our side in the sense of, just how we prepare the process. That's the same. I think the excitement is that you're really ushering in a new era. And you can just see how excited people are in Utah about what's going on and who are we going to get. And, it's just exciting for our staff. They're walking in there today and there's all new swag waiting for them. And, they've got everything, the new colors and everything. So there's a lot of excitement around our organization, about the new and about where we're going. And it starts at the draft. That's the first kickoff where we walk in there with the Utah colors and go to work. So there's a tremendous amount of excitement around just, having the first draft and representing Utah. It's going to be a great day.
Let's go to Dana Green with ABC4 Utah.
Hey, Bill, for fans that are just still getting to know this team, what would you say the biggest needs are coming into this draft? Not even just draft, but free agency as well. Yeah. And then historically, the number 6 overall pick, what do you expect out of that guy? Is that a guy that can contribute right away? Or do you expect to develop a player at that position?
A little bit of both, to be honest. It's a good question. Sometimes you can walk away with somebody that high and they can jump right into your lineup and play. But we're at the point right now where we really want to develop our players. Not to say that they won't have an opportunity to come in and make our team in camp, but for the most part, what you're seeing there is going to be an impact player at some point in time in their career, but it takes them a little bit of time and development to go through. And that's part of our process that we've tried to usher into our organization with so many young guys. And you could see it, with it started with Gunther going in the must. Actually started with Moser being in the minors. Then it started with Gunther. And then, you see the Josh Jones of the world coming through. And I'm a firm believer that, they play huge minutes down there. They're in a great development role down there. And when they come up, they end up fighting harder. They realize, they learn a lot of lessons at the American League level. And then they come up and play in the NHL. And I think it always stays in the back of their mind of what they've learned. So if we do it right, majority of our draft picks will go through the minors and come up. And that way, when they come up, they'll be extra ready. And that's important to us. And not to say that the 6th overall pick can't play in the National Hockey League for us, but it's highly unlikely next year.
And then can you just address the needs of the team?
Yeah, I mean, we need in free agency mostly just some defensemen, a few other pieces and some depth in the minors for our club, but it's mostly defense. We need to add a few defensemen to kind of shore up our team and take the next step.
Just go to Jeff Rainier with Fox 13 Utah.
Yeah, Bill, did you do all your workouts in Arizona? And from your workouts, did you like the talent that you saw? Do you feel like this is a very talented class?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different on this side with the hockey is, you go through the combine and that combine's usually your top 3 rounds and it's out of Buffalo and there's no on ice testing. So it's all off ice and you get to interview the kids and then anybody not invited, you can bring them on the ice. And we did that out of Arizona because we were set up to test them on the ice. So, and that was an exciting, we had I think we had 12 kids come in, and that kind of shores up our pretty much from the 4th round to the 7th round. And it's nice to have that information on them. So those workouts are important for us. We do like the talent there and the backgrounds. There's some kids we really get excited about. And I think when you're on a staff, we've got a pretty talented scouting staff and a whole bunch of picks. So it's an exciting time for us to kind of swing for the fences and see what we can do from the back of in the backgrounds with some extra picks too.
Aaron Schill with the Deseret News.
Hi, Bill. How much have you seen the draft change over the years in terms of process, but also presentation? It looks like it's going to be quite a show this year.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I mean, it's a huge venue this year, and to be able to kind of go up there, and it's everybody's looking forward to it. Just the excitement and how it's going to be presented. I think it's a great thing for the league. It's a great thing for the players, and it surely gets you excited about the draft. For us, I mean, over the years, I think there's more information that comes in. I think the drafts got tighter. Back in the day, 20 years ago, you'd go see a guy and, maybe see him twice and, draft him in the 7th round. And now, through analytics, through video, and just the amount of extra camps there are, you just get a ton more information. So I think with more information, I think teams draft better and it's harder. But you've got to continue to push that pace and create a better process every single year. And I think with the new analytics, and I think the more knowledge we have, the better we become at it. So it certainly has changed in the sense that there's a way more information than you've ever had before.
Go to John Walrow with Associated Press.
Hey, Bill, thanks for doing this. With the number 6 pick and looking at how this draft might unfold, what impact do you think the Russian players, Silyev and Demidov, might have in maybe affecting the draft order? And what is generally your views on drafting Russian players? Because sometimes it's tough to get them over.
Yeah. Well, normally, to answer that last question, if they're a really good Russian player, I think about 100% of the time they end up in the NHL. So they'll find their way eventually over. I think it would be interesting. It depends on the team that's drafting at the particular position at that time, whether they'll make the call and draft a Russian player. Some teams won't. Some teams do. They have different views on it. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of players that have been targeted into that area, and you can't tell from where we sit who's going. I think, the way that we prepare is, prepare for the best day and prepare for the worst day. And let's get down to the draft table. But there could be some Russian players that get inserted before us and are taken. There might not. It's a guessing game right now. And I think you see that with a lot of the mock lists that come out and the talk from the NHL teams. I think there's a lot of different ways the draft could go.
And just one other question, and it's just everybody's dealing with this quick turnaround. I mean, you've been waiting around for quite a while since you've been off the ice, but Utah has had the added thing of transitioning from Arizona. What has this offseason been like, and what do you make of the turnaround as you're going from drafting to free agency in almost a matter of 2 nights sleep?
Yeah, it turns quick for us, extremely quick. We've tried to, because we are a team that is, in the rebuild, we're not worried, we didn't deal with playoffs. So we're probably prepared for this, not for the sleep factor, but for what's coming our way. As far as the transition, it's been a great transition with Ryan Smith, and the SEG group has been tremendous. They get things done. So anything that we needed, whether it's computers or different emails, you name it, they've done a great job of making sure the transition's been extremely smooth. And we're excited about, after the draft ends, we're going right into Park City to have our development camp, and that's kind of our first time we're putting the skates on the ice in Utah, and we're playing a 4-on-4, 3-on-3 game out of the Delta Center, and it's going to be great. It's going to showcase all our prospects from this year's draft and past drafts. It's going to be great, and because of the fact that we've drafted so many kids in the last few years with high picks, that's an exciting time for the organization. You're going to see Simashev and Boot and all those guys on the ice, and all the talent that's coming on display. So we're really excited about the transition and excited about, getting through the draft and through the free agency into development camp. It's going to be exciting times for us.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
John Matisse with the score.
Hey, Bill. Curious about your thoughts on Z Bouillon, might be around at 6, what your kind of scouting report is on him. And then as sort of a side question, and maybe more generally about kids that have a lot of success, team success in their draft year, how you sort of weigh that in terms of, it's obviously a positive, but hey, maybe they were on a good team. You don't want to give them too much credit because Bouillon obviously won everything, everything you could win. So I'm curious how you sort of you factor that into things.
Well, number one, he's a great player. The one thing we always look for is, things that we can attach to winning, like what have they done in the past? And, for him, he's put a World Junior up in a national championship and driven both teams. So, he's someone obviously in the mix at that point, and he showed his ability, to win, which we love. That goes back to kind of our 5 points of character and playing big in the big moments. And, when you see that in the players you want to take it, that you're trying to draft, it gives you that surefire, goodness feeling in your belly. And I'll tell you this, I have a saying that I say to our scouts, and, after we watch the 7th game, I say 7th game is won at the draft table. It's you already know it beforehand who the character that's in them and their ability to play big in the big moments and the pressure situations. And at some point in time, I always say you don't teach a baby shark to bite. They know how to bite, but usually you'll see them bite at some point in time. And we want to see our kids, have a little attachment to the winning. They've got to do something in the big moments. And when you can see that out of them, you get a nice feeling in your gut that when you're playing the 7th game, they're going to respond and play big in the big moments.
Nick Kotsanika with NHL.com.
Hey, Bill, I had 2 questions, if you don't mind. The first one, I remember when the NHL returned to Winnipeg, what a huge moment that was at the draft. Just kind of wonder what this moment's going to be like, and specifically just for facts, do you have the jerseys ready to go? Will it be the black one you're going to put on the prospect?
Well, I can't put the color, attached to that yet, but you'll have to wait to see on draft day. But it's the colors are done, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting for everyone, and people in Utah. It's funny, we've been in and out of Utah there, and for meetings and getting the transition set up, and you're in. People be waving to me on the street. I'll be like, it's kind of weird because they know who you are. And when you're in Arizona, you went undetected. Now you're in Salt Lake, and they know who you are, and your Uber driver picking you up knows who you are. It's like they're tuned in. This is a big thing. This is a big thing in the state of Utah and in Salt Lake. And you can feel that. And so for us to go up on stage with the new colors and all that, it's going to be exciting. But it's a really exciting point for us.
The second question I had, and I don't know if you want to give away strategy, but how aggressive can you be in free agency, or how aggressive do you expect to be?
Well, listen, it's a good question because we have all this cap space. But if you use all the cap space this year, what are you going to use next year? Right. Mm-hmm. So, and you can't, and I've said this a few times, but you can't make that sapling grow any faster. I mean, it's going to get to be a big oak tree one day. but you can fertilize it, you can water it and give it some sunshine. It's going to grow, but that's our team. We're the second youngest team in the National Hockey League, the first youngest forward group up front. It takes time, and it's just that's one of our things. So hopefully we can add some good players in free agency that kind of complement our younger guys and help bring them along. But if we get locked into spending all our money and doing 8-7 year deals and locking up everything, we're pinned in. And our team's going to change with it's not going to allow some of our younger players to come in the following years that are ready to have impact in the NHL. It's going to block them. So there's a little bit of a chess game for us where we have to bring in some players, but we don't plan on using all that money and spending, right out the window and locking ourselves in for the next 7 years. So, we want to be smart about how we use our money. And it has to be to complement our team and let our team grow naturally. Let it grow organically. Let it grow. We're 4th year into the rebuild, and let's not get too far ahead of ourselves with unreal expectations, because as soon as you sign, that great player sometimes in free agency, the next question is, hey, you guys got to compete for the Stanley Cup. We're a young team. We're a really young team. Let's go through the Stanley Cup rosters. McDavid 7 years, Barkov 10 years. It goes down the road. Ekblad 10 years. Those guys have been in the NHL for a long time and battling. Every summer to lift weights and get bigger and stronger and faster. We haven't even got to that point yet. So you have to set realistic expectations for the group and understand that we're a young group, we're an entertaining group. We can score. There's a lot of good things that we can do, but I don't necessarily, by adding and filling up our cap, think that we're gonna win the Stanley Cup next year. So we have to be very strategic and smart about how we use our money in free agency.
Thank you.
Joel Coles with the Deseret News.
Hey, what's kind of your draft process been like with 13 picks, and what kind of flexibility does that many picks give you?
Yeah, well, you always find like when you get multiple picks in rounds, there's a little bit of draft strategy there for you that you can use, and you can be aggressive. Sometimes you'll look and you'll get a guy that hey, he's a great player, he's a safe player. Like, okay, this guy's in the bank. Let's go and attack this next one. Let's take a little bit more riskier. Sometimes when you have limited amount of picks, you're in the back of your mind, you're kind of like, hey, I don't really want to make a mistake here. It's kind of a guy that we think can play, but he's kind of a safe player. When you have more picks, you can be more aggressive. And I find when you can do that, you can really target some guys that have high potential in the backgrounds too. I think with our process, we're pretty flexible. It allows us to go out and buy players at the draft. If there's somebody available that we think, like we did last year with Dursey, you can always use those picks to go buy players. So there's definitely some options to add some players in. Obviously your phone's got to ring and you got to see if you can make some deals to improve your team. But we do have that option too.
We have time for a couple more follow-ups. Kyle?
Yeah, Bill, I'm curious, as you watched the playoffs this year, did you see anything that changed as far as the game trending, like with things that are successful now than they were 5 years ago, especially with like Edmonton, the way they started the season and then the way they finished it, and then Florida with their defense? And then do you see the ability to add those traits in the draft?
Well, definitely. There's couple trends. The power plays are very dominant now. The percentage of their scoring is through the roof. At the same time, the teams that were winning against those teams were the teams with good penalty kills. So, that's really changed in our game. The ability to have elite penalty killers and elite power play guys. They're difference makers. And so we've got to be very conscious of that. Anytime that we can add that in the draft will certainly help our team. That's a trend that's kind of going through the roof right now in the NHL. Some of the trends that are true for me, like last night, I think Florida out-hit Edmonton plus 11. I think that was the numbers that came across my desk. It's always the same for me. It's like when we were St. Louis, we were a physical team. We won a cup. We just out-hit teams, and that's what happens in the big moments. I think teams get tired, skill level drops a little bit, and and you got to pound the body and wear teams down. And sometimes you got to have some size and some grit and to do that. So that's a trend for me that always stays the same. And, we're going to continue to build our team, with not only hockey sense, but with some size, some grit, and keep doing that, and look towards the draft to do that and see what we can make some hay on draft day here.
Andy Larson.
Bill, you mentioned in one of your earlier answers about what you called the 5 points of character, or your 5 points of character. Can you just talk a little bit more about what that is and what that means to you?
Well, you won't find all the 5 points of character in every player that you draft, but you do bring it to your scouts and say, like, what does he have? Does he play big in the big moments? Does he have the will to improve? Can he lose himself in the team? There's a lot of things within that 5 points of character that we look for. Those are guidelines for our scouts, to go out there and find the right players. There's a lot more to it than all the points of character, but it's part of the process. When you go in our scouting room, the first thing I did when I took the job back 4 years ago, I cried because I thought to myself, how am I ever going to find a scouting staff like the people I work with in St. Louis? I mean, they're purebred scouts that put sometimes 265, 300 games on their schedule a year and didn't blink about it. They were just diehards. And then I found a way in the hiring process, not only to get Ryan, but also get Daryl. And when I did that, I started sleeping a little bit better at night because I know those two guys have massive experience. And then we added Larry Plow into the mix and Alan Heppel into the mix, who's built, Larry's a 3-time Stanley Cup winner. Hep had helped build the Avalanche. I had helped build St. Louis. Daryl had helped build Tampa. So when you're in our scouting room, and Ryan had worked for Team Canada and built the Islanders in Buffalo. And so when you're in there, there's a massive amounts of experience in the scouting world around our table. And that pays dividends for us. They're not perfect by any means, but they know they've got enough experience to know exactly what they're doing and what the process should be and how to attack it. And it's been a blessing for this organization to have those guys involved and help us make big strides with this organization, adding top-ranked talent, the Coolies of the world and the Gunthers and the Doans already and the Mosers that have already played. So it's paid dividends already, and we've got still massive amounts of picks to go.
Dana Green.
Hey, Bill, you've talked about the rebuild of this program. When you look at the Florida Panthers, and just 5 years ago, they just finished their third year of not even making the playoffs, and their rise to the Cup. What can you learn from them and that team's rebuild, or do you emulate anything like that, or is it just kind of all on your different approach?
No, well, every team that wins has something similar and something different. What Florida had done, they might not have made the playoffs, but they had a number one goaltender in Bobrovsky. They had a number one D-man with Ekblad, and they had a number one center with Barkov. They just weren't ready to win yet. But their big three were in place, and you're not winning without your big three. So that's something that we're slowly acquiring as we move forward. It'll come to light what we might need or what we've already drafted. So they were down the road with that, where we're not down the road completely. They added a lot of free agents. They added a lot of guys that picked off of waivers, a lot of guys that played roles for them that were really key for them. I thought that what they did really well is add a lot of guys through free agency, waivers. It was a tremendous job that Billy Zito and the ownership did down there.
Darren Schill.
Bill, can you give us a 30-second version of how you acquired all these picks?
Well, timing is everything, gentlemen. And, we just so happened to time it around COVID, where the cap just went flat, and it stayed flat for a long time. And teams had anticipated the growth of the cap, and it didn't happen. And teams got stuck with bad contracts. And when we decided to go down and rip apart the team, we timed it just right. And so we ran into a lot of teams that were giving us second rounders to take bad contracts. And at the time, nobody had the cap flexibility that we did to take on those contracts. And it all started kind of with the OEL trade where, we took on a whole bunch of bad contracts and were able to get Gunther, the Gunther pick. So it started then and it just snowballed and we amassed a huge amount of picks. I don't know if it'll ever be done again in the National Hockey League to amass that amount of picks in that short of time, but it had to do around COVID, and I don't know if that will happen again. So I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but there's a little bit of luck. There's a little bit of strategic planning. And I think you need a little bit of, I guess, puck luck. I think we got some puck luck on that one, but there was some strategic planning and we executed the plan. So a little bit of credit on our side, but a little bit of timing and luck too.
Last question, John Metis.
Hey, Bill, you mentioned your defenseman earlier, a lot of spots to fill there. I just looking on your cap friendly, you have 0 NHL defensemen signed right now. You have 3 RFAs. I'm curious about Dursey and Moser. Any updates on negotiations or what's going on there?
Yeah, those are going to be negotiated. We've got all the faith in the world that we're going to be able to bring back JJ Moser, Dursey and Kesselring and Valimaki. So there's not as many spots as you think. For us is, we try to be, from learning from the teams is that you try and get the right contract for the player. There's a pizza, which is your salary cap, and there's only so many slices. And even though we have massive amounts of slices right now, they're going to go. And, you've got to be smart about how you divvy that up. And even though we do have a huge amount of cap room, it's at some point in time with the amount of prospects that we have, it's gonna dwindle. And if you don't balance out your team and give it to the right person, you can end up, being in a battle that you never get back. So it starts every day with us and making sure that we spend the right amount of money on the right amount of players. So
when we come back, the general manager of the Utah Basketball Club, the Utah Jazz. We're going to hear from Justin Zanik next, plus Cody Williams, former Colorado Buffalo, the 10th pick in the draft. The Jazz get him. He slides a little bit. We'll hear from him and Justin Zanik next. Stay with us. Good morning. DJ and PK is proudly presented by Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer for 18 years in a row. Cody Williams, the guy PK was talking about last fall, falls to the Jazz, and they grab him with the number 10 pick out of the University of Colorado. Here he is with the media after he's chosen by the Jazz.
Cody, Tony Jones from The Athletic. Can you talk? Are you in a position to talk about your workout with the Jazz? What you thought when you were in the building, and what you saw out of Salt Lake when you visited a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. Salt Lake is really nice, really easy to get around. The facility is obviously top notch. I love the gym. I love their weight room. I love the fact that cold tub, hot tub, and we get treatment every day, heal any injuries I need healing. And I think the workout is showing the biggest thing is obviously I'm about to get in better shape just because of the altitude. I know that plays a factor. Also, they're showing me, what I need to work on as far as my body goes and how to get better on the court. Found I need to work on more dynamic shooting. It's probably one of the biggest things in terms of shooting that I need to work on. And then, just getting in shape, getting ready to play an 82-game season, especially playing, half of them in altitude. So, but the workout went really well, and I enjoyed it.
Hey, Cody, this is Ryan Miller from KSL.com. Just kind of take us through your reaction to getting picked for the Jazz, and how do you feel like you fit in here?
Man, there's a lot of emotions going through my mind when I got picked. Obviously, I'm more than happy to be a part of the Utah Jazz, and it's a dream come true. But I think just, there's a lot, a little bit of nervousness, a lot of adrenaline, a little bit of anxiety going into it. So I think just hearing my name called, all that went away, and it felt more relieved than anything. I think I fit in with this group of guys just because of my versatility, being a two-way player. I feel like I bring in defense right off the bat, which I feel like every team needs, but especially with this young core we have. Being able to not only create for myself, but create for others because of, the talent we have on this team, and then kind of, creating offense with our defense. And I feel like I can help that with my length. So that's how I kind of see myself fitting in.
Hey, Cody, Andy Larson from the Salt Lake Tribune. Congratulations, first of all. Wanted to ask about whether or not you expected this, like if you thought it was a possibility coming into the night that the Jazz would pick you, and then what your conversations have been like with the front office and coaching staff so far.
I had no idea where I was going tonight. I kind of had made the answer if I wanted to know, and I was kind of like, you can just surprise me. So I had no idea if I was going 1 through 10, 1 through 15, 1 through 20, 1 through 30, 1 through 60. Like, I really didn't know. So I'm stoked to be part of the Utah Jazz. Really can't wait to get down there and go to work. I haven't really talked to the front office yet. No, I did just get drafted, but I talked to them during the workouts, obviously, and, enjoyed their conversations. I love how their basketball mind works, but I think I'm gonna talk to him after this or sometime after this, but I haven't had the chance yet.
Cody, Sam Farnsworth, KSL Sports. I just wanted to ask you what you feel is maybe the one or two parts of your game that you think will directly translate over from college to the NBA level.
I think defensively, my versatility, that's something right off the bat, being able to, coming in, guard 1, 2, 3. I feel like I can help this team out a lot right off the bat with that. And then spacing the floor with my shooting and being able to make plays not only for myself, but for other people's. I feel like that opens up a lot of shots for, other teammates and also opens up stuff for myself.
Cody, John Kuhn, Associated Press. What looking at your game and coming into the NBA, where do you feel like you can kind of evolve and grow as a player? I mean, you already know what you bring to the table and what's on film, but what else is there, do you feel like?
Probably just my body, especially just coming in as, a 19-year-old playing as grown men, about to play an 82-game season, about 3 times as many games I was playing in college or high school. So I think biggest thing, probably just getting my body ready and in shape to endure that, that amount of games.
Hi, Cody. My name's Adam. I work for the CBS station here in Salt Lake City. It takes an incredible amount of determination and hard work to accomplish what you just have, being a top 10 pick. How does it feel to just be at the mountaintop right now and achieve what you've achieved?
I mean, it's the greatest feeling in the world, really, especially when you work your whole life to get to this point, and especially when you land with such a great organization and a place where obviously me and my agents talked about that it would be a great situation for me, a great scenario. In the summer, I could really help out the team in many facets. So, first thing's a dream come true. Feel relieved that I landed here, and also excited just to get down to Salt Lake City and start getting to a routine, start getting to a rhythm, working out, getting a consistent schedule just because I've been flying around so much.
Awesome. All right, Cody, we're going to open up some questions, one per outlet on here. So if anyone wants to go ahead and chime in, you feel free to ask your question and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Cody, Jacob Toby from Denver. Congratulations. What does this mean? You came to Colorado to play for Tad and for him to develop you and for this to all work out. What does the University of Colorado and Tad mean to you now that you got this thing done and you're a top 10 pick?
Obviously, I chose that school for a reason because I believed in them and made the right decision. I knew they would get me right, not only to have success in college, but help me pursue my dream of being in the NBA and prepare me to do so. So obviously, you can see it worked out. I was able to be a top 10 pick, due to their help. So.
Hi, Cody. Sarah Todd from the Deseret News. I'm wondering, is your brother there with you? And if not, or if so, have you talked to him and kind of what was his reaction? What did he say to you?
Of course, yeah, of course he's going to be here for the draft. I'm not going to miss that. Yeah, he's in my group with me. I haven't talked to him yet. Like, I got my name called and I came straight here. But I'll talk to him. I'll probably talk to him about like an hour after I finish, this little media circuit, so.
Cody, it's Pat Rooney from the Boulder Daily Camera. Congratulations. Wondering, this past season at Colorado, obviously physical struggles for you. Was there ever a point where you were concerned those setbacks was going to cost you come draft day, or were you pretty confident you'd be able to get to this point, which is kind of where you were projected at the beginning of the season?
No, I didn't really feel any pressure or worried because I didn't put a timetable on myself. And, me going back for another year at Colorado, I was fine with that. But never really let injuries get the best of me. Never really let it, keep my head down. So I was able to push through it. So you kind of have to be mentally tough to handle those adversity and kind of fight through, the mental aspect of injuries, which I was able to do. So I wasn't ever really worried about my draft stock just because I was also focused on Colorado basketball and not the draft.
Hi, Cody. Congratulations. Nikki Edwards, Hughes Sports Report. I'm just curious, throughout this draft process, how much have you, Tristan, and KJ been talking with each other about what's been going on and just sharing ideas? And just throughout from point A to point B, how much you guys have been talking with each other?
Just keeping tabs on each other, checking out, asking each other, how many workouts they've done, where you're working out to next, making sure we're all good, just checking up on each other throughout this process. And, obviously after I got drafted, went up and hugged Tristan, dapped him up. So I'm also excited to see where he lands, but we're definitely going to continue to keep tabs on each other and stay close.
Hey, Cody, this is Tyler King with the Denver Gazette. Obviously, it's a big night for the program with you and Tristan in the green room. KJ's there in New York as well. I mean, how much pride do you take in being part of kind of this big night for the program? I think it's the first time ever that, the program has had multiple first-round picks with you and Tristan, and KJ could be as well. I mean, could be a really big night for the program.
No, most definitely. It just shows the hard work and, the trust we have in the program and the hard work the program puts into developing its players. So I think really the results tonight will speak for itself.
There's Cody Williams now. Here is Justin Zanik talking about the Jazz first-round draft picks. They get Cody Williams with the 10th pick, USC's Isaiah Collier with the 29th. Here is Justin Zanik.
I mean, we had talked right before the draft with you guys, and I said it was going to be unpredictable. That's about the only thing that I could predict. It was going to be unpredictable. So I think there's a number of things going on in the draft, and so we do quite a bit of modeling in time, and constantly, even we try to set up as much as we can before the draft, or just with possible teams could be interested, move up, move down, and so you start getting a number of calls when various players who think teams or people projected weren't going to be or are still around, and there was quite a few. So anyway, you start getting calls of weighing whether you trade up, trade down, trade back. And, a lot of our modeling just said for us to stay put. And it made sense, and we're thrilled with how the draft went. Thrilled.
Can I just ask a basic question? Why do you like Cody Williams? Why do you like Isaiah?
So with Cody, he's a true wing with NBA speed and talent and skill. He's very young, obviously a lot of work to do on the body. I think when you guys meet him, one of the things I was very impressed with is he's much more mature for what a normal 18-and-a-half-year-old is. He's one of the youngest players in the draft. And he's got a spirit and some experience because he went through this with his brother and sees what it's like, and he loves basketball. It's a basketball family. And I'm really excited for him to be part of our program, and we're really happy to, continue to help him grow.
Yeah, when it comes to his brother, how much can that help to just have a family member in the NBA with you?
I think for the most part, it's really beneficial because, you might ask, Keontae George 365 days after he's drafted, and it's like, what have you learned? He hears that from his brother every day, like the first three years, like, I had to work harder. I thought I worked hard. I needed to work harder. The physical, the strength, the physicality you need to play in the league. A lot of people don't get that until it hits them straight in the face. And they're like, oh, wow, this is a different league. And so just having that perspective early and someone who is, in his family, a very hard worker and has experienced good early success, I think is a great example for him. They're going to be different. They're not the exact same player at all. But just being able to be around that, can continue to inspire and grow Cody's passion for the game.
How do you help him avoid those comparisons, I guess, because those are obviously going to...
I mean, he could get his last name changed, I guess, but, that's going to be inevitable. But his time in the league is going to be, and his reputation is going to be marked by what he does and how he grows and progresses, and that's how you make your own reputation.
Both Cody and Isaiah are high RSCI guys who then, I don't know if you could say disappointed, but maybe a little bit in their college seasons. So what do you see from their high school games that maybe didn't translate in the college aspect that may translate with the Jazz or in their pro careers?
Yeah, I think a couple different reasons. Like with Cody, he came into a very mature team, an older team that played. And so I think a lot of times he would defer and try to figure out how to play with them. And so you learn a lot like that, how to play with others. the high school stuff, you see the athletic talent and the skill and all those things that he did a very good job in high school. So I don't think that there was anything concerning that it wouldn't project. It's like you're trying to find context within college of why things were the way they were. But, like I said a couple days ago, is like you're finding the positives, and there's a lot of positives with Cody and with Isaiah. I think with Isaiah, he was a very prominent high school player, much like, different players, but much like Keontae, and was dominating his competition. And, at one point, the number one player in high school on a big schedule. Going to USC, the season obviously didn't go the way they all wanted. A lot of ups and downs that, he had an injury in the middle. I think he did start, he learned how to play with his team. Had a bunch of turnovers early, though those improved in the last half of the season. He still has a great frame and speed and can get in the paint whenever he wants. Like, that's something that you usually can't teach. So are there things we need to continue to work on? Work on the pull-up, work on the shooting. I think he shoots it fine, mechanically. I'm sure that our coaches will be able to do things. But the thing I think he also profiles is that I think he can be a very good guard defender with the body and being able to see and read. I think that can be just as important defensively, too.
How do you see Isaiah's ability to pass the ball fitting in, with the rest of the roster?
As you know, our coach says, move the ball. He moves the ball. Having other guys that play that way, I think, only help the teammates and help Isaiah. I think Cody also he's the farthest thing from a selfish player. He likes to move the ball. He likes to connect with his teammates. You saw that in Colorado, whatever role he had to play. So having two guys that can connect with our group, I think is important. And they have physical profiles that I think have historically shown very good results in the NBA.
You mentioned the possibilities of trading out, down, or out. Were there possibilities to trade up? Because that was some of the rumors.
Yeah, there were a couple. Okay. There was a couple from 10. It just, I was really happy that we stayed at 10. You just don't know, and then things start to fall, and then the price gets out of whack, and it just didn't make sense. A lot more to move up from 29 to early 20s, stuff like that. But as the draft started to fall, there was very high percentage chances that on our probability markers that the guys that we like were going to be there. You'd be paying for certainty, which sometimes is really nice, but we had a group of players that were going to be available that, so we are absolutely thrilled that Isaiah was available for us to take.
With Cody, how much do you anticipate him being able to contribute right away versus how much development does he need and to be ready in the next few years?
I think all of these guys are going to need time to develop and NBA experience and things like that. So how his summer goes, and then how many gains can he make? I think the strength part's going to be a huge part for him. So what kind of progress he makes, and then how quickly he learns stuff and things like that. So as I've told you guys know very well from Coach, there's no free minutes, but there are opportunities, obviously, with a young developmental squad to earn a place. And no matter where that place starts, we've had historically a very good track record of being able to get guys where they want to go. So.
And this question is from Sarah Todd. With both Cody and Isaiah, there's been questions about shooting. Cody with volume, Isaiah with consistency. What are your thoughts there for both players?
Good question, Sarah. The volume, obviously, the way we play and, his footwork and working on some of those things for him to be able to get it. He's certainly got the frame and the height to be able to, become a volume deep shooter. It's one of the things that we'll work on. I think with Isaiah, the part for, I'm not making excuses at all, but when you've been so dominant in the high school level and even college to get in the paint whenever you want and be at the rim whenever you want, and absolutely dominate your competition that is your age, you can make an argument of whether he's had enough reps or not, but to be able to do that, because he's not going to be able to do all that all the time in the NBA. He's going to be able to do some of it at a high level. So having those other parts to his game, he's a very hard worker, and I think also he hasn't shown it as much because he's been so dominant that way. So all of them need work, but we're fine with the mechanics. Maybe we'll make some tweaks, but it's really his pace and his ability to see and his ability to, make others better and be able to score for himself and create for himself is big qualities.
When we come back, more on the draft. What is trending on the way? Stay with us.